Hello, I'm Kathy Chester, and this is Move It or Lose It, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, spirit, and soul.
Okay, so here's my question. So my ophthalmologist that was great back many moons ago was very tender, but even now, I don't understand why we're still not offered that ability to see doctors around here, 20 something years in. I've never heard or been asked, would you like to see a neuro ophthalmologist or a neuro anything? Why do you think that is?
It's really unfortunate because you should have, the opportunity to have all of the other issues taken care of. Yes, you have your neurologist and that's your main person.
Right.
That's the person who is kind of like the overall kind of guide. But then you should also have the other team members. You should have someone taking care of your eyes. You should have somebody taking care of your you were mentioning neurourologist before,
Right.
Any bladder issues,
Right.
Coordination issues. So you should maybe see a physical therapist, occupational therapist, cognitive issues. So it really should be a team approach. And, in some, in large centers, like large academic centers, there usually is a team, but in most other smaller practices or, group practices, or even solo practitioners, they may not necessarily have that team. So I think it's really important for patients to be proactive about their own health and maybe seek out people and create your team. And it's unfortunate that it should be like that, but listening to you and how you've done such amazing things, in raising awareness and inspiring people. This should be an important takeaway, is that people should try to advocate for themselves and create their own support team.
And so, unfortunately, I would say, to your point, that you are absolutely right. So the option was for me to drive to Cleveland and do that and have a team. And that gets clinky, when you're in different states, and it's not just like I'm going to see you, but I'm going to develop my whole team there. And then messages don't get through to the right person. And it just got real messy. So here, what I've noticed is that you do have to make your own team. So now that there's more information, and I believe in my heart, with all the horrible things in COVID, the best thing was that we were all able to speak to each other. And we were able to find out, like, wait, you have a what? A neuro what? So it gave us a lot more, I would say, ability and kind of a fire in us to say, wait a minute, why have you not ever asked me or talked to me about that when I haven't been able to see out of this eye for 20 years? And all I've ever heard is, well, there's just a lot of scar tissue. It came back for a little bit, but for the most part. And then, the other eye tries to compensate. So now both eyes are just all over, crazy.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. But
so
it was important to get, like, if you have any visual issues whatsoever, whether it's optic neuritis or other things, like sometimes MS can cause double vision.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Like where people see like things are not stable, they're kind of shaking. Sometimes it can cause a droopy lid. Sometimes, and these are pretty rare, but all kinds of things can happen. And so if you have any visual issues whatsoever, I really just see an ophthalmologist and ask for a referral to a neuro-ophthalmologist. That's just the best thing to do.
Okay. And so, so now let's go over some of the things. So let's just go MS for right now. So I'm coming in and I'm telling you, let's say I'm going to fly to New York. Next,
I hope you do. I hope you do.
I want to see you. So, and I say, it's just not getting better. And the pain, I was one of those fortunate clients that had patients that had the optic neuritis with the pain, and that's never left. So it always feels like stabbing in my eye. And when the weather changes, obviously the barometric pressure, it gets worse. So for me, cold is worse. So the winter, my eye hurts much more. So that would be, so if I'm coming in, you would be looking for what? Tell me some of all of the eye things that it could be.
Yeah. So first of all, Neuro Ophthalmologic Exam is probably one of the most comprehensive eye exams you'll ever have. So we don't just check vision. We don't just check glasses, and we do a whole slew of testing.
Okay.
And as part of that, we check your central vision, we check your color vision, we check your peripheral vision, we check if your eyes are aligned. So these are all things we look for that may be affected by MS.
Right.
And in terms of your particular symptom, like if you have pain behind the eye, we also want to make sure, yes, okay, we know that you have had a history of optic neuritis, but we also want to make sure it's not something else. Like, for example, could it be a migraine variant? Because those two can sometimes go together. People can have MS, they could also have migraine. And sometimes migraine can cause eye pain, like a stab, like kind of what you're describing, like a stabbing pain. So all of these can be considerations, and the full exam would really reveal kind of what the problem is, and then we would treat the issue. The other thing that's important is the MRI. So probably you've had lots of MRIs along the way. So we look at that. We actually, even though we're eye doctors and neuro ophthalmologists, we look at the MRI. We want to see it. We want to see what's going on, to see if there's anything structural there that could be causing the symptoms. So it's pretty extensive. And then we work with the patient really to find the best treatment for them. And, whether it is an MS drug, or maybe it's something else, maybe it's another medication that they need to take to calm down their pain or discomfort or whatever their symptom is. So there's a lot to consider.
Right. My next question would be, so I told you, we talked about this beforehand. So went to the ophthalmologist the last 2 years ago, and whenever everything was open and you could go. So they looked at my chart and realized, you have been to the ophthalmologist for like 15 years. You should probably check in with one. I'm like, thanks. So went in, and he was, like I said, very kind. This one was as well, but there was no, we have some for you. Again, it's always say it's the one disease that you do all the research on your own, and you get glossy pamphlets that say what looks best to you. I have no idea. I've never done this. So it's just kind of, I picked an ophthalmologist, and so I don't know. I feel like it's definitely getting worse.
Yeah. And one thing I would suggest is, if you feel like you're lost, if anyone feels like they're lost and they really just don't know what is the next best thing to do, a great resource, no matter where you are in the world, a great resource is the National MS Society. And they have so many people you can talk to that can help guide you in the right direction. Again, maybe they know of a local person in your area that you can see, or even now through telemedicine, maybe you can see someone to help you figure out what's going on. So there's lots of resources out there, and there's always people who you can turn to for help. So
what would you say in your practice has been like the biggest eye issues with some of the neuro stuff?
So optic neuritis, I see optic neuritis every week. Every single week. And I see a couple of patients every single week. So it's probably one of the most common. It's probably one of the most common things, because as you probably know, a lot of people with MS first present with optic neuritis, about 20 to 30%. And then over the course of MS, about 50% of people have optic neuritis. So it's very common. But I see all kinds of other autoimmune diseases too. I see a lot of thyroid eye disease. So if people who have Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, their eyes can get involved. I see a lot of migraine. I see a ton of something called myasthenia gravis, which is also autoimmune, where people have weakness of their muscles, and it can affect their eye muscles. It can cause double vision or a droopy lid. So I see a whole host of autoimmune stuff. But as a neuro-ophthalmologist, I also see other things too. A migraine, the whole spectrum of migraine that I was talking about before, vision loss, when vision loss is unexplained. Like sometimes people come in and they've lost vision in one eye or both eyes, and it's not optic neuritis, it's not a tumor, it's not a stroke. Like, what could it be? So that's something that we help figure out.
That would be scary.
It is very scary. And especially if it happens in a young person. I mean, it's we really do every test we possibly can to try to figure out what's going on. But in neuro-ophthalmology, a part of it is really listening to the patient and getting from them the history. If you listen well enough, most likely just from their story, you can figure out what's going on. I would say 95% of the time.
I'm sure.
And then of course you do the test to really confirm what's going on.
Sure.
But it is like solving a mystery. Like, patients come in and each person is their unique situation, and each person is, has their own treatments that they may be a candidate for. So it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not
exactly.
Like, okay, one size fits all. It doesn't work like that.
I was going to say it couldn't possibly be like that. So for optic neuritis, things like that, do you have a program or something set up? So when I come see you, are there glasses for us, things that help us to see?
So, so glasses are basically, they correct the optical issues with the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And in optic neuritis, the problem is the nerve. So the optic nerve has been inflamed and it's not functioning normally. It's not as fast as it should be, or it's not seeing colors as well as it should be.
Right.
So when somebody has had optic neuritis, and let's say they've been treated and they recover to a certain extent, but maybe they're not back to 100% of what they were.
Right.
In most cases, glasses are not going to be the answer. Unfortunately, because glasses, again, just correct like the front of the eye, the optical issues, but not the nerve part. So in some patients, we do use other things like whether it's MS drugs or sometimes we use other types of, there's experimental things like different kinds of stimulation that can be done. I know that for optic neuritis, there have been all kinds of things like electrical stimulation, acupuncture. I mean, there's so many options. Some of it's not yet scientifically proven, but there's a lot out there that could potentially help the nerve function better. And from my perspective, so I'm a neuro ophthalmologist, but I also do what's called integrative ophthalmology, which is more of a holistic approach. So I layer on top of that nutrition and lifestyle.
Love that.
And so nutrition is key. So I always talk to my patients about what are they eating? What types of foods do they eat? Are they pro-inflammatory? Are they anti-inflammatory? And I try to get them on more of a, low sugar, more, not exactly keto, but leaning towards keto type of diet.
But most of us, honestly, we need to be on that. I mean, most of us should be on, if nothing else, like whole foods, nothing processed.
Exactly.
Eliminate sugar to the best of your ability. I get, and I talk about it all the time with my clients, owning a small gym and training, my MS patients and my autoimmune patients, that I know how hard it is at this time to stay away from sugar. But if we could get it in our head that when we do this, this is how we feel after, then I think it kind of takes it away. It takes that desire away a little bit more. It helps at least.
Yeah. So most people are on a diet called a SAD diet. Have you ever heard of the SAD diet?
I have.
So SAD stands for SAD, Standard American Diet. And it's exactly what you're describing, like high sugar, processed foods, unhealthy fats, like fried foods, potato chips, baked goods, things like that. So you just want to steer more away from that. And as Kathy was saying, choose, if you're going to have sugar, have natural sugars. So, like fruits, berries are a great source of natural sugar if you just need a little pick me up. Lots of veggies. So as many colors as you can find. So I have I always tell my patients the rule of 21. So basically most of us eat 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. That's 21 meals a week. And in 21 meals a week, you should be having 21 different colors. All kinds of different colors. So all different shades of greens, purples, blues,
I love
blacks,
the greens,
reds, oranges, yellows. Have that entire rainbow, and
so
you will get
week.
In one week.
So
it's 20. Most people eat
so is
21
everybody
meals.
hearing that? 1 week, 21 different colors.
Yes,
that's our challenge.
And different shades of blues, different shades of greens. Like just diversify your diet, and if you do that, you'll get so many wonderful anti-inflammatory nutrients from plants. That's so important. So I counsel my patients about that. And then also, I don't know if you've ever heard of Terry Walls. So she is a wonderful advocate for patients with MS and autoimmune disease. And she has a whole diet protocol that she calls the Walls protocol. Now her protocol is pretty intense. She usually recommends like 9 to 12 cups of vegetables a day, which is really hard to do. So I tell my patients,
I'm just going to say I'd be real gassy.
Yes. Yeah. It's not easy to do. It is super hard. But what I would suggest is start off small. So do 3 cups a day, get used to 3 cups a day, and then work your way up and maybe get up to 5 cups a day. And if you can 7. So, I mean, that just do whatever your body is, feels best with. And as you said, like not everyone can tolerate that many vegetables. It can cause,
or that much food.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
just,
is
they
a lot
feel
of food.
bloated.
It ends up being a lot of food. So modify it, but just kind
Right.
of think of the bigger concept is, try to choose wisely and
Right.
choose foods that are not processed, like what you're saying, eat
Well,
whole
and I love
foods.
what you said too about it. Sometimes when we start off when I do the movement and they're like, I want to go every day. I'm like, let's not do that. So if we start off with like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take out all the sugar, all of this, I'm going to put 20, it's so overwhelming. And we get excited about, oh, this could help, but we don't stop and think about the fact that that's a lot at one time. So I love what you said about let's start to envision 3 cups. Let's start to envision that first and then move from there. And then all of a sudden you'll taste like, wow, I never knew that vegetable had that flavor in it. And I've always found that after I go on a fast, I'll come off it and then I'm like, oh, these vegetables, because you've cleansed your palate. Your palate is now ready for fresh foods. And then it's like vegetables have never been, I mean, I love vegetables anyway, but there's just a sweetness in them and a crisp taste that you have when you eat them on their own. And you can just take the dips and stuff away. Not that they're not yummy, but take them away and just try to enjoy the vegetables.
Yeah. And I love how you said, again, just to emphasize, like doing it slowly.
Yeah.
And actually, so this is an interesting fun fact. Our taste buds completely regenerate every 2 weeks.
Really?
Every 2 weeks. Yes.
Did not
so
know
basically your taste, you can actually change your taste preferences in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Completely. So let's say you cut down on sugar, let's say, I mean, I used to be a sugar junkie back in the day, but when I cut down on sugar, it was hard. Of course it was hard. But then when I happened to have something that was super sweet, it was almost too sweet.
Yeah.
Because my taste buds had readjusted.
Yeah.
So, in doing what you were saying, like, just the flavor of certain natural foods will just pop out at you. It'll be just like so refreshing.
Yeah.
So try it. I mean, and do it slowly, like do whatever works for you. Another tip I have is if you're going to aim to get just those 3 cups in a day, just have a smoothie. If you have a smoothie every day, that's easily 3 cups.
Right.
Put some leafy greens in there, put some fruit in there, put some chia seeds or hemp seeds in there.
Yes.
You'll get your omegas.
Now you're talking to my favorites.
Then you'll be done for the day. So if you start with that, you'll be like, oh, I can do more. That's super easy. I can do more than 3 cups. So little tips.
Absolutely. I love that. So as far as then moving forward with stuff that you do, so how many patients with different diseases do you see in a week? Has it slowed down since COVID? Are people still afraid to come out? Are you doing televisits still?
I do some telemedicine visits. Initially, it was very, very slow. Especially like last winter, it was super, super slow, even though places were opening up. But then once the vaccines came out, now people feel much more comfortable. So I would say it's almost back to what it was before. Almost, not quite, almost. And it's really important for people to feel comfortable going out to their doctor. They really shouldn't put off their visits because there are some people, unfortunately, who waited. They were scared to go to the doctor's office. They were scared to go to a hospital, and they ended up losing vision. And that was something that happened permanently because they waited too long. So please don't wait. Like if you have a symptom, get it checked out. At least start off with a telemedicine visit.
Yeah.
At least start off, and then if sometimes you need to go in and get checked.
In a different state, could they set up a televisit with you?
So this is the tricky thing.
Okay. No, it's fine. I think
laws,
I know, but I want you to explain it.
Yeah. State laws are very strict. So it's all based on licensing. So if a doctor is licensed in one state, the patient has to be in the same state.
Yeah.
Physically in the same state.
I remember driving to somewhere in Ohio just so I could talk, have a televisit. And I'm like, this is crazy. I can't do this anymore.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And they really should start to relax that. But I don't think we're there yet. So
And the other thing too, that was shocked me is if you could go over the number again, how many did you say that you thought in the United States that we have people like you that are neuro ophthalmologists?
So I would estimate less than 300. which is crazy to think, like in
It's
the
terrifying.
entire country, there's less than 300. And,
Yeah.
if you're in a large city, like for example, in New York, there's probably, I don't know, 12 of us, maybe more.
Right.
But if you're in a rural area or a smaller city,
Sure.
you may not have anyone, and you may have to travel to go find someone.
I'm thinking in the Detroit area, I would say it would probably be Michigan. The University of Michigan would probably be the place if they had one.
Yeah, they do. I have some colleagues who are there. Okay. So there's a couple of people there. There's Dr. Jonathan Trobe, and there's Barry, blanking on his name, but he's with Henry Ford. So so definitely there's a couple in Michigan. But again, there's probably some states where there are no neuro-ophthalmologists, which is very sad. But
but again, I think that if it's your health, you've got to think about that. And if you do have to travel, unfortunate, but that can be part of your team, that person that's getting you to that place, because our eyes are extremely important. And I know that after COVID, and we talked about this for a minute, that my eyesight has taken a big hit. And this side, when I saw the doctor and thought, okay, I know this is doing bad. This has always done bad, my right eye. But now my left eye, which I thought was great, he's like, no. I'm like, I have a perfect vision. And he's like, no, it's not good. It's really not so good. So I think sometimes we get content and just assuming this is, I guess, the way it's going to be, without realizing that we do have options and we do have the ability. But it is that, and I feel this a lot in the autoimmune world, is go, you're worth it. You are worth that trip. You are worth going to find out how you can feel better and how your eyes can work. And that's why it was so important to have you on today, because especially my heart is so much for our newly diagnosed patients that have this happen and they have no idea what to do next.
And it's very frightening. That's the other thing. It is so scary, no matter what your symptoms, whether it's optic neuritis or weakness or numbness, it's really scary.
Very much.
And, the first few months, first year or two, it's really learning your path and being an advocate for yourself, which is unfortunate that it has to be that way. But now that we have the internet, now that we have, resources like you and social media to reach out and connect, it's really important that you build your network, not just your care network, not just your doctors and provider network, but also your social network.
Yes.
And it is really important to share your story, because you may think that you're alone, but you're not alone.
No.
There are other people out there who have the same questions as you, the same concerns as you, the same fears as you, and you can really learn a lot from each other. So thank you again for putting this community together. And it's really amazing what you've been doing. So
thank you. I'm loving it. And I can't tell you, I wanted to do it years ago, and just things with, I owned a bigger studio gym, and I just couldn't find the time to do it. And so, with 2020, everything kind of slowed down, gave me opportunity to get more certifications. And then also it was like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to start this. And I slowed down, and I do a lot more training with my, MS patients and my autoimmune patients, and also with my clients that are here. And we just really slowed down and made it smaller. And my view on this is that, again, like anything with eyes, it's your health. And I've kept you safe, and I've kept it very safe in the studio. So if you want to get stronger and you want to get healthier, you'll come and see me. If you want to go to a big gym where there's a lot more exposure and people aren't, doing anything to protect you, then that's where you need to be. Because my heart is to help people who need to get stronger and healthier after all of this. So
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I feel that you feel the same way. And we talked a little bit about, after COVID, the eyesight getting worse. And you've seen that with.
So it's very interesting. So, I used to see a lot of optic neuritis before COVID, and now I see even more of it.
Wow.
And it's very interesting, the trend. And actually I have one of my residents doing a study to look at pre-COVID and during COVID, like the numbers to actually see, and hopefully we'll get that published. But definitely we've seen a rising incidence. And I don't know if it's, I mean, we do test our patients. So we test them for COVID if they have the antibodies. Right. We also, we know their vaccination status. So I've seen it after COVID infection where people develop optic neuritis, and some of them ultimately have MS, or they go on, they develop other autoimmune conditions. So there are 2 other autoimmune conditions that are also demyelinating, not MS though, that can cause optic neuritis. One is NMO spectrum disorder, and the other is anti-MOG disease. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, I've not heard of that one.
So NMO is a very aggressive form of demyelinating disease, much more aggressive than MS. And it can cause optic neuritis in one eye and possibly even both eyes. And it can even cause what's something called transverse myelitis, where people have weakness of, like both of their legs at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very debilitating. So we definitely need to treat those, diagnose them first and treat them very aggressively. And then anti-MOG is actually the better of the 3 because it just affects the optic nerves. It's very unusual. It just causes just optic neuritis. It doesn't cause the other manifestations of either MS or NMO. So these are all things that I've seen rises of during COVID. It's very, very unusual. I mean, before I would see maybe like 1 or 2 cases of NMO a year. And I would say in the past year, I've probably seen like 7 or 8 cases of NMO in the past year, which is very unusual.
I know you're in the middle of still doing the study, but just your opinion, why do you think that is?
I think that it's possible that the virus, people who have had infection or even after vaccination, the immune system gets revved up, and maybe they had a predisposition to it,
right?
But it wasn't, nothing had ever happened, but something triggered the immune system to recognize the optic nerve and start causing inflammation against the optic nerve. That's the only explanation I have, is that it was kind of like a parallel kind of, you're having an inflammatory response from the virus, and that inflammatory response is causing this inflammation of your brain and or optic nerve. So,
and then also, doesn't stress bring that on more as well, or no?
Yes, absolutely. I would say in my MS patients, the biggest trigger by far is stress.
Yeah.
Whether it's their first episode or their 5th episode, the biggest trigger is stress. And I always tell them, no matter what you do, figure out a way. And we all have stress in our lives, right? Whether it's from work or from home or whatever, health issues.
Kids,
yes, exactly. We just have to learn how to modulate it. And when you can figure out ways to relieve your own stress, you end up just being healthier.
Do you have a book on that?
I wish I did.
I wish I did. Do we get rid of this? So no, but you're right. It is a big trigger. I can see my eye will start to get worse. So there's shades of gray, and then the shades of gray get darker. And then this eye starts to get all weird, not quite double vision. It just does this thing where it's not landing, and it's dark too. So I'm like, well, no one is ever going to ask me to be the designated driver. So that's for sure. So I've had it so long. It's been funny because I'm like, do you want me to drive? They're like, nope. So, and it was fun. It was, we had to make fun with it because it's not going to go away. And it was, funny with the kids when I drive and they'd be like, whoa, because I get so close to a car. I didn't feel like I was, but I had no depth perception whatsoever. So, growing up with this, with my kids, it was a little crazy, but I very much want to go to, and I think it's necessary that as we age with MS, it does change. And I'm feeling the changes in my eyesight. And so I think for us to just continue to go to a regular doctor for things, a regular psychologist, a regular urologist, a regular ophthalmologist, we're never going to really get the answers that we need
Can you hear her? Say hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Is it the headphones or?
No, it's
Zoom?
the screen just goes black.
That's strange.
I know.
Okay. So you're still recording. So
Okay, so we're still recording, so we can again start. We're getting towards the end anyway. Let me go ahead and start to record it. So we'll start off by where we ended, which was help my brain, help my cog fog.
You were talking about,
What can I see?
that's why I think we were
thought
talking
you were
about again, like why it's important to see different specialists, not just a regular urologist or regular ophthalmologist or.
Right. And I don't know how that's going to come out. You'll just have to piece it together because I should probably move on. From there, what else do you want to share? Do you want to share about the other things that you do?
Sure, I could talk about that.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to you to go on because I know that you've got a lot of other things that you do as well. Okay, so let's go on to that. Okay, I guess we are recording. Okay, so let's start from here. So what I wanted to talk to you about, Dr. Banik, most is what you have coming up in the future. I already know I'm coming to see you. And I hope that a lot of our MS patients and other patients will come and find you and really understand that this is most beneficial for their health and that comes first. And a lot of times, especially as moms, I think we can put everything in front of what we need, whether it's the kids, everything. And I think we have to realize, even though we hear it all the time, that we are no good to anyone unless we're taking care of us. And that's a really tough thing.
Yeah, so true. Being a mom myself, and I know we always put other people's needs in front of our own, but we have to prioritize our own health and make time for it. And, hopefully recruit help to do other things, or maybe delegate some other things in our lives, which probably most people aren't comfortable doing, but we'll have to get comfortable doing that. So, so what else do I do? I've been a neuro ophthalmologist for a long time, almost 20 years. And so I've been, kind of really developing my other programs a little bit more, the integrative stuff, the aspect of eye health. So again, nutrition, lifestyle supplements, botanicals. And so, so I have 2 books coming out next year. I'm really excited about this. The first book I've been working on for almost 3 years, and it's It's still with my editor. It's on macular degeneration.
Okay.
And macular degeneration happens to be a leading cause of blindness. So I talk about the things you can do to prevent it. So eating the right types of foods, choosing the right lifestyle, making the right lifestyle choices. And part of that is movement and exercise. So, so that's a major part of that. And then avoiding toxins in your life and blue light and all kinds of, other practical tips.
But question for that. So I get asked this a lot as if I'm the ophthalmologist, but when you're with someone, you're the counselor, you're everything. So I get asked a lot with eyesight stuff, do I need to put blue lenses on, or is that really not a thing?
So there's no proof that they really work, first of all, but the studies were a little bit flawed. So what I tell people is, if you're going to get blue blockers that will really provide you the protection. So many blue blockers, they look clear. They look like regular glasses.
Right.
They hardly block any blue light.
Okay.
Some of them are like a yellow tint, so they block a little bit more of the blue light.
Okay.
But the test is, if you put on your blue blocker and if you can still see blue on your screen, then it's not really fully blocking the blue light.
Gotcha.
So you need to get a darker color, either like an amber orange color or even a red color. And I wish I had my blue blockers with you to show you the ones I have.
Where's a good spot that we can find those?
So again, you just need to ask the manufacturer, what percentage of the blue light does it block? And if they say, oh, it's about 20 to 40%, don't get those.
Okay.
Go for the higher grades, which is probably going to be like 90% and above.
Perfect.
There's a brand I like called True Dark, and I can put the link, if you want, in the show notes.
That'd be awesome.
Link. And they have both lighter colors and darker colors. So you can use the lighter ones during the day and the darker ones at night, because blue light can also affect sleep. It makes it, if you have too much blue light exposure from screens, it makes it harder to fall asleep and to stay asleep. So it's best to try to eliminate the blue light during the day.
And as you well know, most of us don't sleep. So that's a big thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So
sleep is important. And then there's also, beyond blue blockers, there are also blue light screen filters. So not just something like that you put on your screen, but an app that takes out the blue light from internally from the screen. And so I can send that to you also. It's called Iris. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a great app. It really helps to modulate the light coming from your screen.
Wow.
And there's all these different settings you can play around with. I'm going to get that
right now.
And find out, which you feel most, because everyone's different. You just have to find the setting that you feel most comfortable with. And there are like 27 different settings on the app. So,
definitely. Because I know so many of us struggle with that. And with what we talked about with the vision getting worse, and we're working from home, we're at our computer screens so often right now. And I think for me, I know that's brought on a lot more migraines. And for me, it's made my optic neuritis more painful. So I'm like, help me.
There's so much you can do. And actually, when I have time, I was actually in the future, and at some point, I was thinking about creating a course, like an online course on digital eye strain, because so many of us, especially during the pandemic, we're on screens for hours and hours a day, both kids and adults, and we're all suffering. Everyone at some point has felt like their eyes are tired and dry and red and irritated. So I'm probably going to do a course on digital eye strain.
I love that.
That'll probably be in early 2022. So anyone can
keep us posted on that one
through Zoom. And so, and just, like a short course just to give lots of tips on how you can prevent it. So
I would love to even, when I come in to see you, if you even want to do that, I don't care if we have that where it's being filmed, where people can see. I've been from Michigan to New York because I so badly care about my health and I want to see. So
that's, absolutely. I would love to do that, just to show people, like, this is what the type of exam entails and this is what you have to do. And these are the results. And
it's not scary, but wouldn't it be great to open your eyes and not have a migraine every day?
Yes. Right. I'm a migraine sufferer too, so I know. And that's a whole story into itself. But migraine was the reason that I learned about integrative health, was because I had daily migraines for over 2 years. And I would wake up every day with like a stabbing pain behind my eye. And
a lot of our MSers have that, and they don't know why.
Exactly. And I didn't know why. And so, I went to all the top headache doctors in New York, and they all gave me various different medications and nothing worked.
Right.
And then finally I said, I need to figure this out. And I started to do research, and I said, okay, well, there are all these supplements that work. There's been studies to show that magnesium and riboflavin, they can help decrease migraine. Food is a major thing. So that's how I got into, nutrition and then lifestyle. I was sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night. I was having like 8 to 12 cups of caffeine. No one ever asked me about that. Not one of my doctors ever asked me, like, how much are you sleeping? How much caffeine do you have? What are you eating? Meanwhile, I was eating like pizza and ice cream and soda every single day, and no one ever asked me. So that's how I found integrative and functional medicine. So once I healed myself, then I started to use these principles for my patients. And it really is so important.
I think that's how, when we really are passionate about it, once we know it works on us and we've been practicing it and we're not getting answers, to understand where you're coming from, only my own experiences, right? So I remember in the 90s, they were like, no exercise, sleep, rest. You need your rest and sleep. And in my brain, in my mind, and in my heart, this made no sense to me. I was like, but if all I do is rest, yes, there's most definitely a middle ground there. We do need to not go crazy all the time. We need time where there's rest time. But if I didn't start right then, I was always so active in sports and stuff. If I didn't do that then, even when they were looking at me like I had 5 heads, I don't believe I would be where I am now. I don't believe with the movement, did I know the best movement then? For sure not. But I knew that atrophy will set in. It doesn't make sense. I'm just going to lie down. I was so young. And so I just did what made sense to me. I started, in water aerobics, and then got myself into the gym and, just started doing things like that. And I think it's so important that, again, why my heart is so into our newly diagnosed is, not listen to not the Instagram influencers all the time, but go to people that you can trust. Go to places that you can trust. Go to the Mayo Clinic and look there. Go to Johns Hopkins, look for information there. Don't go on Instagram and look up, what is this? And God forbid, we've all Googled, but don't Google it, because you're going to think you're dying tomorrow. So
you either hear the best case scenarios or the worst case scenarios on Google. So there is a middle ground, and also do what's right for your body. So you knew that when they told you, oh, just go rest, that's not right for your body. Right. You knew that, okay, I don't feel healthy doing this. So you need to do something.
Right.
And I also just want to say that, so in MS, we know that mitochondria don't function properly.
Right.
And the mitochondria are energy powerhouses within every single cell. And exercise actually helps them function better, and it helps them work better. And it helps you to create more mitochondria. So of course, as you said, you don't want to push it. You don't want to go to the extreme, but you definitely want to incorporate some kind of movement into your daily life. I mean, it's so important.
And it really helps you from being on antidepressants and things like that. I remember in 2020, and I was getting very anxious. I had to switch medications. I couldn't find a doctor, and just a lot of crazy. So, what do? First thing, she's depressed now. Finally, it's been, because they would always ask, are you? No, I'm fine. And it was completely off, because it's not depression. I was anxious. So they got me on this depression stuff. And I'm like, I don't like this. It's got me like, bleh. And I'm like, I wasn't depressed to begin with. I was anxious. I mean, I was changing my business, it's just all the stuff that was happening. And so sometimes I feel like we don't get the right answer, and we're so tired of going to get to ask and ask and ask that we just kind of like forget it. And so I think that's, again, where that team comes from. It could be a good group of friends that you go to and say, I just want to give up. I'm just so tired of fighting this. That kind of spur you on, like, no, wait, don't do that, because you've got this, this, and this. And so don't, I want you to just keep fighting and don't give up on this. And so what would you say is the best thing that you're able to encourage some of your patients with, that are just come in so weary and tired and feeling like I've done everything and nothing's worked?
I would say maybe you're not seeing the right provider.
I like that.
I hate to say it.
No,
But I think it's true. Like, if you feel like you've done everything and nothing's worked and you're just, frustrated and about to give up, it should not be that way. There are lots of options. And, if one thing is not working, there are so many. I mean, the whole, the treatment approach to MS has changed so much over the past 20 to 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, not only the new drugs, but just our understanding of the disease has changed and improved so much.
Yeah.
And there's a lot people can do. And just please don't give up. That's my message, is don't give up, because there is hope. Yes. And there is hope that you can get better. Absolutely. And I think with more research, maybe there will be eventually some other treatments that are on the horizon now, like stem cells, for example. I mean, it's still experimental, but I think ultimately maybe in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, there will be really incredible treatments out there that may help you. But in the meantime, please don't give up. There's
absolutely. Always I am getting excited about the stem cell. I had one interview and I have another interview with Brooke Slick. I don't know if you have met with her or talked to her before, but she has, I love the way that I've heard her speak of it. It's I like to have someone, when they're speaking of, like you have done, to be very precise and very factual about what it is. And I love the way she explained exactly how it was done before wrong, and how it's done, so I'm very excited for that. And, you're not going to go to the neurologist. They're not going to talk to you about that. No. So we really have to do our research on our own for that. And so I just can't tell you what. So give me one more thing you're super excited about coming up for you. You've got books. You're going to do a curriculum.
Yes, I think my second book I'm super excited about, which I didn't mention. I didn't talk to you about. It's called Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. Okay. And this is something that I've been working on. I do a lot of social media. I'm on Instagram a lot. And I did a whole series, Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. And I said, wait a minute, I did this entire series. I should put it into a book. Right. So I put all the foods into the book, and then I have recipes that go along with it. So I'm really excited about that, because I think no matter what your problem is, whether it's cataract or glaucoma or macular degeneration or dry eye or MS, no matter what your problem is, you can learn a lot from that book, and just kind of like think about, what am I eating? Like, why am I eating this? What else could I be eating? So I just want people to kind of, their eyes be open to the possibilities with food, as food as medicine, basically.
I love that. Well, you speak right up my alley. So I'm like, yes, amen. So I love that, because the partner that I work with, it's nutrition and movement, and those go hand in hand. And without those, we don't have quality of life. We don't. And so that's a lot of what I do. And it's so great to meet people like you that are so passionate and are doing such amazing things, and writing and learning and not stopping. And so it gives us an encouragement to not quit, because we have someone like you that I'm excited to go see, that could help me with my eyes that I've struggled with so much. So I encourage all of my listeners that when you're struggling with migraines and your eyes are just feeling terrible, reach out and ask. You're going to see this on the bottom of the show notes, so you can get a hold of Dr. Banik, but you can also find out some more information. And we don't need to be in this much of a struggle and be in this much pain when there's answers out there for us.
Yeah. Oh, you said it so beautifully. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
Well, I am thrilled to have finally meet you, and to just to be able to get this out there, because there's just so much unknown still, and I think that our MS patients really need to understand that there are many more options that they even have an idea about. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and we'll let listeners know when that will happen. And so again, just thank you for being on. Thank you for being so open and sharing. And just excited to see you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I love chatting, and I loved, you're such an inspiration yourself and your journey. So thank you for getting the word out there that, you can lead a full life with an autoimmune disease like MS.
Absolutely.
There's nothing stopping you.
Amen. So I'm going to have all of your stuff on the bottom of the show notes. It'll be the longest list of stuff, because there are so many things that you do that I love. So, so don't worry if you miss something, it'll be on the bottom of the show notes. So the apps and all the things that we talked about. So
Okay, sounds good.
thank you so much. It was
You're welcome.
a great pleasure to talk to you.
Same
And I
here.
can't
I
wait
really
to
enjoyed
talk
our
soon.
conversation. Yes, absolutely. Okay, take care.
And
Bye-bye.
so bye. Have a great day.
You too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us every Tuesday and also wherever you like your podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together.